Customer research is the most important step in marketing. It's also the one I used to dread. 3 hours per round before I had anything to show for it. Today, 30 minutes. Quick context. This channel is one long build, Balance Pro, a real strength training program for working women, brought to market with AI doing the marketing work. 30 days, one product. Every build starts with customer research, so that's where we start. Here's how it used to look. Open 10 browser tabs, read 100 reviews, take notes I'd never read again, build a doc nobody wanted, including me. By the time I had something useful, I'd lost the thread of why I was doing it. The work was real, the pain was avoidable. In the next 8 minutes, I'll show you a workflow that does the same job in 30. Same depth, same nuance, sometimes more. The example? A real product. A 12-week strength training program for working women 35 to 55, sold as a $197 online program with a private community. We'll call it Balance Pro. The tool, a Claude project I set up once. Step 1. The Claude Project. This is the part you do once. A project in Claude is a saved workspace with its own instructions and its own files. Think of it as teaching one Claude conversation a job, then handing it that job every time you start a new chat. From here, create project. I name this one Customer Research Assistant. The name doesn't matter much, but be consistent so future you can find it. Now the part that matters, the project's instructions. This is the brain it loads before I say anything else. I'm telling it, be a customer research assistant. Quote verbatim, never paraphrase. Flag the fears that show up between the lines, not just on the surface. Tell me what surprises you. Pause on this for a second, because why these specific instructions matter is the whole point. Default Claude is trained to be helpful and balanced. For customer research, that's the wrong instinct. You want 3 slightly contrarian things from it. Refuse to paraphrase, even when paraphrasing reads better. Hold on to specifics, even when generalizing would feel cleaner. Flag what surprised it, even when the surprise complicates your assumptions. None of that is the default. That's why the instructions exist. Set it once, save the project, never redo it. Every conversation I open in here from now on starts with that brain already loaded. Step 2. The prompt itself. This is the part that changes per project. The instructions stay, but the brief changes. For Balance Pro, I want themes, exact phrases, fears, desired outcomes, and surprises. I'm going to type or paste that as a structured prompt, not as a vague request. Take a beat with this on screen. The structure is the prompt's actual job. Vague structure gets you vague output. Specific structure gets you a research report. 5 things in order: themes, phrases, fears, what they want, surprises. 2 of those deserve a second look. Section 2. Exact phrases worth keeping. I want quotes word for word. The whole point of this workflow is to get the customer's actual language, not Claude's interpretation of it. Section 4. What they want. This is the flip side of Section 3. Claude's good at finding what people fear. It's also good at pulling out the outcomes they're actually paying for. We'll see both in the output. And Section 5. What surprised you? That's the one that breaks the pattern. Without it, the AI tells you what it thinks you want to hear. With it, it has permission to complicate your assumptions. Now the data. 20 reviews. I pulled these from Amazon, the App Store, Reddit, and a forum. Mix of 1-star, 3-star, 5-star. Mixed sentiment matters because pure 5-star reviews don't tell you anything useful. For comparison, Gathering these reviews took me about 15 minutes. Reading them properly the old way, taking notes, tagging themes, organizing into a doc, that's another 90 minutes easily. Watch how long the next part takes. Output starts streaming immediately. By the time it finishes, you'll have spent more time pasting reviews than reading the result. We read 20 real reviews from women aged 35 to 55. Amazon, Reddit, the App Store, Trustpilot. All shopping for strength training programs. Not surveys, not focus groups. Real words, written when nobody was watching. What we found breaks almost every assumption the fitness industry makes about this market. These women are not struggling with motivation. They are not intimidated by hard work. They are being failed, repeatedly, by programs built for someone else entirely. Over the next 5 sections, we're breaking down exactly what they said, the themes that keep repeating, the phrases they use to describe their frustration, what they're actually afraid of, what they're really paying for, and the findings that genuinely surprised us. If you're building for this audience, or you are this audience, this series is worth your time. Step 3. The part that decides whether this workflow saved you time or just moved your work to a different screen. 5 sections, exactly what I asked for. I'm going to walk through 4 of them, the ones I actually use. Section 1. Themes. Look at the labels Claude pulled. Fear of judgment in the gym, time scarcity at midlife, anxiety about doing it wrong. These aren't generic. These are the specific frustrations I told it to find. Quick test of whether your prompt worked. Read your themes. If they came back as fitness goals and wellness journey, you underprompted. Go rewrite the prompt. Don't blame the output. Section 2. The one I actually save. Verbatim phrases. Look at these. I just want someone to tell me I'm not doing it wrong. I don't have time to be a beginner again. Every program assumes I have 90 minutes a day. These are gold. They go straight into ad copy, hooks, sales page subheads. Note, I'm not paraphrasing them. I'm using them as written. The customer wrote better copy than I would have. Section 3. Fears. Notice, Claude didn't just list what reviewers said. It read between the lines. Fear of being the oldest person in the room. Nobody literally wrote that sentence, but it was there in 7 different reviews in different words. That's why I asked for it explicitly in the prompt. Surface-level analysis would have missed it. Section 4. What they want. Flip side of fears. Same data, different angle. Look at the outcomes Claude pulled out. Strength to carry groceries up the stairs without thinking about it. Being able to pick up my daughter. Not throw out my back lifting a kid. These are unglamorous wins, the actual practical things people are paying for. Not transform your body, not unlock your potential. That's a sales page subhead waiting to happen. Now section 5. What surprised you? This is the section that earns the workflow. Look at what Claude flagged. In this market, women talk way more about form anxiety than they talk about results. That's not the obvious prediction. You'd predict the dominant emotional theme is body image, looking a certain way, weight loss, aesthetics. It's not. It's the fear of doing the move wrong. If your competitor is selling transformation and your audience is actually paying to not be afraid of the deadlift, that's a gap. That's a positioning decision. That's the line in the output I'd write down by hand and tape to my monitor. 3 things to do with this output. 1. Copy the verbatim quotes into a swipe file. You'll reuse them every time you write copy. 2. Pick 3 themes, only 3, and write 1 positioning sentence for each. That's a 1-hour exercise that pays off for a year. 3. Ignore the rest. The themes you don't act on this week, you'll forget by next week. That's fine. Don't hoard. 3 hours to 30 minutes. The reason isn't speed. Speed isn't really the point. The point is you actually do the research instead of avoiding it. That's the whole game. The exact prompt and the project setup are in the Prompt Playbook. System instructions, the per research prompt, all of it. Link in the description. If you'd rather copy-paste than type, grab those. Friday, how to turn this customer research into 30 content ideas, ranked by which ones your audience actually cares about. See you then.